Hey, yeah, this is me live. I promised I was going to do it. It's a little bit later than I anticipated, but Tuesday live book review, something like that. 4 people watching. What? 4 people. So, if you've read the description, you may already know. I can't remember if I put it in the title, and that's annoying because I left the sound on that. Sorry about the video on this. It's janky. For some reason, it looks like it's from the 1990s. Let me know if the audio is okay, because this is the first time I'm doing this through the computer with like an actual microphone and an actual camera. I don't have the thing that links the the HDMI into the camera capture card thing. So at the moment, it's done via a crazy janky sort of AV out on the camera, and that's why it looks like it's from 1990. I think I've got a viewer just over there. I have. That's 1 of 4. Oh no, 1 of 3. So that's one other viewer. Hey, other viewer. So I'm going to be talking about The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. The reason that I wanted to talk about this as the first one that I'm doing is because it's kind of about starting stuff. The first part of it, basically, is Resistance Greatest Hits, and what he means by that is it'll become clearer. But Resistance is basically the topic of this book. The following list is in no particular order. The following list in no particular order of these activities most commonly elicit resistance. The pursuit of any calling in writing, painting, music, film, dance, or any other creative art. The launching of an entrepreneurial venture, any diet, any program of spiritual advancement, any activity whose aim is to tighten abdominals, any course or program designed to overcome an unwholesome habit or addiction, education of every kind, any act of political, moral, or ethical courage. And he goes on, and basically he's talking about the thing that stops you from actually achieving the things that you want to achieve. Makes sense? Yeah. And the reason that I found this book, and the reason that I really wanted to read it, was, 1, I like the title. 2, Matt D'Avella, the director of the Minimalism, the documentary, and podcaster, YouTuber, he recommended it as one of his 6 all-time top books, the things that got him motivated to start doing what he's doing. And let's not. I had a little clip of Matt talking about his why he likes the book, which is interesting because after I read it, although I'm not going to spoil whether I liked it or not, I went on to Goodreads. And if you don't know what Goodreads is, it's a website that, similar to something like TripAdvisor, where you can go and you can review things. And you can review books on there, obviously, because it's books. Obviously. Goodreads, yeah. So it's usually filled with reviews that are much longer and much more comprehensive than the reviews that you might see for things on Amazon that are like consumer electronics or something like that. They are paragraph after paragraph. And in the case of this book, for the most part, they are paragraph after paragraph of very, very mean things being said. People don't like this book. And it was only after sort of reading some of those reviews that I actually realised why people don't like this book. And I kind of get it. And I think if you look at it maybe from an artistic point of view, it's not a great masterwork or anything like that. It's the structure of it is these tiny, tiny chapters. This, for example, which you won't be able to see because this camera basically is putting out something that your dad would have had on his shoulder in the 90s. This is the first chapter. That's chapter 2 and 3 as it goes. Because it's basically talking about the same thing. It's talking about the concept of resistance. And resistance, as Stephen Pressfield puts it, is this kind of force that's acting opposite you whenever you try and create something. So any of the things I mentioned before, any of those creative pursuits or things that are difficult to do, things that aren't necessarily handed down to you. So creating your own business, that's not something that someone's told you to do usually, for the most part. Things like, starting writing a book, you have to find a way to motivate yourself to sit down and do that. And so for the next part of this, I just want to go through and read some of the things that I really like from it, really dislike from it. Just want to pick some bits out that I think might, you guys might be interested in. One of the first things that he goes into, so he has this thing: resistance is infallible, resistance is universal, resistance never sleeps. One of the first ones that really was oh yeah, shit, this is a thing. Was resistance plays for keeps. Resistance's goal is not to wound or disable. Resistance aims to kill. Its target is the epicenter of our being, our genius, our soul, the unique and priceless gift we were put on earth to give, and that no one else has but us. Resistance means business. When we fight it, we are in a war to the death. And at first I read that and I was like, oh, shut up. But he makes a good point, I think. Because what he's saying is, if you give into it, and you kind of keep giving into it, the resistance will kill that thing that you wanted to put out there. And that makes sense. If you look at the people who had lofty goals, who never sat down and did them, you will see a lot of people who became unhappy, became stagnated in what they ended up doing, and that creative spark, that entrepreneurial spirit is dead for some people, and resistance is what killed that. And I quite like that as a, well, I don't like it, it's shit in it, but it's true, is what I like. Another bit. Resistance, by definition, is self-sabotage. Yes, he's calling it a force, but it's a force that's it's just another part of you, basically. It's that sort of propensity to procrastinate. That was a tongue twister. But there's a peril must always be guarded against, sabotage by others, and that's basically him saying this is a problem within you, but other people, especially people who maybe have fallen foul of resistance and aren't pursuing the thing that they really wanted to achieve, they are some of the worst people to have around, and you really need to either cut them out or let them know you're not going to be listening to them, because sometimes they think they're being well-meaning. They will talk about things like not getting your hopes up, and that's because they got their hopes up, but then they didn't do the work. And yeah, so they think they're doing the right thing, which is sometimes worse than someone being malicious. Resistance and procrastination. And this one is, for me, this is like the reason I got this book, is because resistance for me is procrastination. I am my own worst enemy when it comes to getting things done. Message retracted. Oh, so what did someone say that they don't want to? Procrastination is the most common manifestation of resistance because it's the easiest to rationalize. We don't tell ourselves, I'm never going to write my symphony. Instead, we say, I'm going to write my symphony. I'm just going to start it tomorrow. And this now thing that I'm doing is a product of resistance. I should be a year into this, but I didn't. I let this fall by the wayside. I let a couple of things, a couple of hurdles stop me, and they shouldn't have stopped me. And I should have been doing this for a lot longer, and it'd be much better, and there'd be, you know, more than me and Katie and whoever the one other person is watching. Hey again. So that's it, and so that's why I really wanted to read this book, and like, I think even if you just pick this up every day and read like that one bit, other than being utterly bored by day 3, you would you'd get a lot out of this book, even if it was just that one chapter, that one 4-line chapter. Another bit that I like, we're all pros already, and this one I was like, what the fuck do you mean? And well, you told me. We all get a paycheck. We work for money. We are professionals. Everyone who works does a job and hopefully gets paid for that job. Whether it's, you know, going out and fixing holes in the road, or it's sitting behind a desk in the top floor of a building telling other people to tell other people to tell other people what to do. We go out and we are some sort of professional. We are a professional in the thing that we do. We're a professional. Why can't I think of any jobs? Katie, can you help me out? Name a job. They're not like a normal, like 9 to 5, like a job that people have. Retail. If you work in retail, you are a professional in something. And I think there's a disconnect between someone who works in retail who has a dream to do something creative. There's this disconnect between the professionalism of that job and the professionalism of another job. If you go and you want to become a photographer, you are going to be doing a lot of work that you actually don't want to be doing. Much like you probably are when you're working retail. Yes, you might enjoy some parts of it, but you probably don't enjoy every single bit of it. If you do, fair play to you, keep at it. I've never met anyone who enjoys every single bit of their job, and I know a fair few people who are doing the thing that they love, doing the passion project, or the thing that they always wanted to do. They're doing that, and they're not happy all the time. You know, there's times when you have to do your taxes, when you have to, I don't know, go to some sort of meeting that you don't want to do. You have to tell someone that you can't do a project and you really wanted to, and that sucks sometimes. So yeah, you're a professional, and just realize that translates. A professional seeks order. For me, this one was a weird subject, like the bit of topic to cover, because this is like I'll talk through and explain it, but this to me is the thing that I do. I procrastinate. I don't want to do the work that I enjoy, and instead I go and clean the house or something. Don't laugh. Something. Make food, probably. I go and make some food. That's more realistic, isn't it? Katie's over off camera just laughing at me. I do clean the house sometimes when I don't want to do work. A professional seeks order. When I lived back in my Chevy van, this guy lived in a van before it was cool to live in a van, so that's a thing. I had to dig my typewriter out from beneath layers of tire tools, dirty laundry, yeah, blah, blah, blah. My truck was a nest, a hive, a hellhole on wheels, yeah, whatever. We get it, it was a mess. The professional cannot live like that. He is on a mission. He will not tolerate disorder. He eliminates chaos from his world in order to banish it from his mind. He wants the carpet vacuumed and the threshold swept, so the muse may enter and not soil her gown. He kind of loses me sometimes with shit like that. To me, like trying to keep things tidy and trying to like get rid of stuff, yes, it helps me out, but I think for me it's about getting rid of the things that make me procrastinate. So if I have an empty desk, that's better for me. I used to have like a setup where I had like 2 monitors. I had like the mouse, the like not orthopedic, whatever the word is, ergonomic mouse. And I had the keyboard, and you had to plug everything in. You get the laptop and plug it in because I worked somewhere at home, and that was like a procrastination for me. I could kill like an hour doing that, and just it's not great. A professional acts in the face of fear. The amateur believes he must overcome his fear, then he can do his work. The professional knows that fear can never be overcome. That's really key, that one, because the amount of times before I go and shoot for like a new client, or even for existing ones, if it's something that's not like super routine, the amount of times that I am genuinely like scared, really like quite not terrified, but like there are brief moments before I go and do some work like that where I'm like, whoa, right, and I just need to go and do it, and as soon as I'm doing it, I'm absolutely fine. And I think that's what he's trying to say here. Amateur sort of thinks, oh, once I get good enough, I can go and do this as a job, or once I get good enough, I can move to the next level. And really, the secret is you just need to do it. He talks about Henry Fonda throwing up every time he had to go out on stage, which, like, kind of whatever. I guess it proves his point, but he's losing me at some point along this. A professional dedicates himself to mastering technique, and as much as this one is true, and this chapter, I'll read you basically the whole chapter because it's not even half a page. The professional respects his craft. He does not consider himself superior to it. He recognizes the contributions of those who have gone before him. He anticipates him. No, he apprentices himself to them. I didn't read that word before I said it. So yes and no. Yeah, he's got a book. I've not. He's saying that, get really good at what you do, and then it will become. And he's not even saying it become easier. He's just saying that you just need to get good at what you do, otherwise, kind of fuck off. But you don't necessarily like the craft. So for photography or something like graphic design, where you're gonna be working freelance for clients, probably a lot of the craft isn't the designing, it isn't the taking pictures, it's the networking, it's the building relationships, and that for me is what a lot of new people to these sort of freelancing type jobs is what they don't think about. They don't want to try and get better at those things. They want to avoid them as much as possible. So yeah, professional dedicates himself or herself to mastering technique. I don't know when this book was written, but it feels dated. 2002. Wow, it feels more like 1982. Fair enough. A professional does not hesitate to ask for help. I think I've this is one that I need to get better at, but also I pulled it out because the example in this is Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer in the world, yet he has a teacher. Yeah, but we don't talk about Tiger Woods anymore, do we? Isn't he like a bad man now? No, I don't know. I thought he was. He went a bit mad, didn't he? And like destroyed his car or something with the club. yeah, as he gets to the end, he starts to lose me. He starts to talk about muse. Well, he talks about muses all the way through, but then he talks a lot more here about angels working for God and things like that. And yeah, I was really on board until that point. Um, the magic of keeping going. So not the overall content of this chapter, but there was something I really liked in this. He says after he's finished work for the day, and he starts at 9, he finishes at 5. He sits down, and that's how he beats the resistance. He goes. He says he goes for a walk. As his mind empties, he takes a dictaphone with him, and that's when a lot of his good ideas come. And that's that's interesting. I like that. I like the idea that stopping work might be one of them. Once you've put yourself through a full day of it, stop. But that don't discount that time. That actually might become some of the best, most productive time that you've got. Just 1 second, guys. What are you laughing at?
That comment that got retracted
Yeah.
is from that same account that keeps retracting these.
Why do you keep watching if you're bored? Okay. Well, at least I know I've got a fan. Thanks for watching. So this book, do I recommend it? Yes, I probably do. And even if you only read the first half of it, because these quick little pick-me-up kind of chapters, these quick little ideas, if you're someone like me who is battling that resistance, who's really trying to create something, trying to start something, and people out there are kind of trying to shit on your ideas, or you're just really not getting there yourself, you need that little bit of motivation. I think it's a good case in point. I think CMC Official, I'm willing to bet they don't have a lot of content on their channel. They're not doing a thing, so they come on other people's channels, and they just spread some shit. And that's tough. Like a year ago, comments like that would have probably stopped me. But I think you get past that, and I think that's talked about in this. That beating the resistance, beating just by doing the work. It was really tough for me to sit down and do this. I put it off for quite a while, but I'm doing it. I'm sitting down and I'm doing it. I don't care that this is the first one I've done in a year, and there's only a couple of people watching. This is the first of something that I'm going to keep doing, and I'm going to get better at it. And I think books like this really help. And this is not a book that you read it like I read it. I read it, took it to bed, read it cover to cover in 2 goes, 2 nights. That is kind of not how it's supposed to be read. This needs to sit somewhere where you can pick it up on the coffee table, leave your bookmark in it. Next time you pick it up, you read Resistance and Love. You read Resistance and Being a Star, or Resistance and Fear. Are you paralyzed by fear? That's a good sign. Him, not me. I would recommend this book. Yeah, to someone who's definitely, to someone who's kind of feeling a little bit in a rut. Like I said at the start, I get why people on Goodreads really hated it, because I think if you're the kind of person who's going to be doing a review on Goodreads, you're the kind of person who's kind of maybe got a critical eye for writing, whereas I'm not a particularly good writer. I'm just here looking for the ideas, and ideas come in all shapes and sizes, and this to me, as long as you don't get caught up in the kind of airy fairy, I'm not going to say spiritual side of it, because I know some people really get a lot from spirituality. I think you can get a lot from this if you take it on face value, if you take it as a pick me up. every now and again. And I don't know if that's the way other people work. I'd love for you guys, anyone in the comments, you're probably watching this after the fact because there's not a lot of people tuning in right now. Hopefully it's just because all my subscribers are having their tea. Let me know what kind of creative you are. What do you struggle to start, or are you the kind of person who sits down and can just sit down 9 to 5 and do the work, and you actually just love being able to like sit down and just do it? That's kind of everything I'm going to say on this book. I'm hopefully going to get better at these. This is as much a test of technical ability with the setup as it is me being able to review a book. And if you saw the announcement video I made to say that I was going to do these, you'll know that this is coming off the back of me having read a lot of books. And I'm not the best reader. I don't kind of synthesize knowledge that easily. And I think being able to talk about it, and hopefully as this grows, as I continue to do this, more people will come on, and this kind of final bit can be a chat between me and you guys, and hopefully we can kind of create like a to and fro, a conversation back and forth about whatever book it is that I'm talking about. Next time I will be talking about The Dip by Seth Godin. Happens to be another one that Matt D'Avella recommended in his video, but it's also the first book I ever got on Audible, and it's a really short book, but it's another one of these, like, definitely read at the start of the year, when you're starting a project, when you're starting a goal, if you're working towards something, you've just set out on it. This one's like, get started. The Dip is more like, carry on once it gets hard. Right, thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.